This time I'd like to call the Onslow County Board of Commissioners meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2023 to order. At this time we'd ask our county manager, Ms. Sharon Griffin, to lead us in the invocation, followed by Mr. Ben Warren, Assistant County Manager, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Chairman Foster and Commissioners, and good evening. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come before you and conduct the business of Onslow County. Tonight, as we recognize Peace Officers Memorial Day and Emergency Medical Services Week, we pray you will keep our first responders safe and give them wisdom and strength to be at their best in every challenging situation. We are so grateful for these men and women for their sacrifices and service to our community. May all we do this day bring you honor and glory. Amen. Now, with deep respect and reverence for the faiths, beliefs, and traditions of those gathered here tonight, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to recognize some of the elected officials that have joined us tonight. The highest attendance award going to Alderman Rick Grant from North Topsail Beach. He's always here with us, and we appreciate him coming in and doing that. Great communication with North Topsail, and right there with him in attendance quite often is our Register of Deeds, Ms. Amika Jarman. And then in the back, always there, is our wonderful Sheriff, Chris Thomas. We appreciate all of you here tonight, and any communication with you is always fantastic. We ask that all in attendance please set your cell phones to silent or vibrate mode. The board offers the public one opportunity to speak during the meeting. Comments should be limited to no more than 5 minutes and may be on any issue upon which the Board of Commissioners has control. In accordance with the board's adopted rules of procedure, commissioners shall reserve responses, if any, for the commissioner comment period on the agenda. We have no other items to be considered. I ask for a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, agenda has been adopted. At this time, if we don't have any questions or concerns about any of the agenda items for the consent agenda, I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve. I'm just really excited about it.
Second.
Motion and a second for the consent agenda with excitement. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We're at that item now in the agenda for public comment. Ms. Griffin?
Thank you, Chairman Foster and Commissioners. We do have this evening 4 citizens who have signed up to speak to us. I would like to remind the citizens you have exactly 5 minutes in which to speak. When I call you to the podium, please restate your name and your address, and please limit yourself to 5 minutes and take a seat when your time is up. We ask that you address your comments to the board as a whole and not to individual commissioners. Please do not carry on any dialogue with anyone in the audience. At this time, I would like to call up Ms. Christina Meckler of 212 Jasmine Lane.
Hello. Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. My name is Christina Meckler. I live at 212 Jasmine Lane. I'm here to speak to you this evening as a concerned citizen, voter, and advocate for free, fair, safe, and accessible elections. Onslow County is one of the largest and fastest growing counties, yet our County Board of Elections budget stays just about the same every year. The average amount spent nationally per voter is $17.82. Onslow spent $5.12 per voter. Out of 83 counties that provided budget data for the fiscal year 22-23, Onslow spent the least per voter and had one of the worst voter turnouts in the state. Only 37.25% of eligible voters in Onslow County voted, which is well below the statewide turnout of 51%. Brunswick County, which is comparable in size to Onslow, spent $9.24 per voter and had a 58% voter turnout in the 2022 general election. Our county elections office runs year-round. They need to retain the staff they have and should be compensated fairly for their continuous hard work. Your County Board of Elections and their administration doesn't just work election day. They work hard all year round. The office handles voter registration, voter roller list maintenance, the massive increase in FOIA requests, hiring and training of poll workers, and then leading up to elections, facility rentals, office supplies, and the storage of voting equipment, and the list goes on. Another reason for increase in funding would be the recent North Carolina Supreme Court's reversal of several decisions, the first one being photo ID. The parameters of that decision haven't even been released yet, so the board will be working with last-minute guidelines. But let's say they start printing voter ID for those that request one. They cost $4 a piece, and they have one machine to fulfill all ID requests. You also have the ink that goes with that ID machine that can be quite costly. The second decision would be the people with felony convictions still on probation losing their voting rights. They are to be removed from the system, but with understaffed and underpaid workers, this can cause legal issues for that resident. This is where voter education would come in. Voter education is something our county greatly lacks. Do our residents know that they will need to bring photo ID? Do the residents with felony cases disenfranchised from the state Supreme Court's decision know that they can't vote in the next election, even though they voted in the last? A properly funded County Board of Elections would be able to educate the voters through social media, County Board of Elections website, and public outreach. A budget reflects our priorities as a community. I am asking the chairman, vice chairman, and commissioners, please do your own research, visit the Board of Elections to see the work they do on a daily basis, and June 5th, vote to increase the County Board of Elections budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meckler. Our next speaker is Ms. Cynthia Lacorte of 220 Elm Street.
Good evening. I'm Cynthia Lacorte, 220 Elm Street. Recently, I attended a meeting here, and one of my friends spoke during the public comment portion of the meeting. She voiced her concerns regarding the property tax increases. The following day, I was encouraged by another friend to listen to a radio show where two of you were guests. Sorry, I lost my place. I don't want to miss anything. When I listened, it seemed that you were joking about my friend's concerns and that to you her concerns were silly or funny. Many Onslow County citizens are experiencing financial strains and hardships due to the economy, and the increase has undoubtedly been a factor in making the family budget even more strained and even unmanageable for some. I can assure you my friend is not alone in her concerns, and even if she was, you all represent her. How do you expect people to feel comfortable coming here and placing their concerns at your feet and be respectful about it when you respond in such a disrespectful and uncaring manner? It is my hope that you use better judgment and fully appreciate and recognize the responsibility you have to us all. We have heard over and over how you represent everyone, not just Republicans. Well, represent everyone and just not those that always agree with you too. Disagreements and different perspectives are healthy, and there is always something to be learned, and it's a great way to grow and even find solutions. Now I'm going to switch gears. The North Carolina Budget and Tax Center is a nonpartisan organization that stated last week, and I'm quoting, North Carolina counties that spend more on election administration boost their residents' electoral power. For too long, election administration has been underfunded. The result has been to depress voter turnout, reinforce barriers to the ballot box for Black, brown, and other people of color, and people with disabilities, and undermine trust in the outcomes of elections. Then they gave examples, and sadly, our county was an example. Onslow County provides one of the most striking examples. Among the 83 counties that provided fiscal year 2022-23 budget data, Onslow spent the least amount per voter, $11.98 less than the national average. Onslow County also had the worst voter turnout in the state. The evidence clearly shows that counties with better funding are boosting the electoral voices of their residents. Please adequately fund our elections. Read the data. Know that they correlate. The money you spent gets the voter turnout. We have seen you all approve funds in the budget for just about everything and anything else. So let's focus now on the voices of Onslow County citizens at the ballot box and stop being last placed in the state. Last place of 100. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lacorte. Our next speaker is Ms. Debbie Walsh of 209 Joey Court.
I am Debbie Wolfslegel at 209 Joey Court. First, I'd like to commend the board for being brave enough to allow us to talk on issues that are important to us without trying to shut us down, like the Board of Education always wanted to shut us down. Over the past 6 months since the election, I have been waiting for one board member to pull back the curtain, and help with transparency of the board. But it hasn't happened, or at least we haven't seen it. We haven't seen anything but pretty much butt kissing and backslapping and going along to get along. There's no excuse to run on an issue like that if you're not going to do anything. But let's talk about wasteful spending. Many departments in Onslow County need funding and more funding to run their departments. How is it that the board could justify purchasing a horse farm? Yes, I'm still on the horse farm. Because the citizens, the taxpayers, are still paying for this. It's now called Heinz Farm. Without taking that money could have been used to help the EMS and the fire department and all that good stuff. But instead, there is a perceived look that the board made an under-the-table deal with a former senator to purchase the horse farm. Whether this deal is as it looks to the taxpayer or not, it's still a perceived idea that that might have been what happened. I have heard 2 board members who went on a local radio station to state the horse farm was over and it's done with. Even one said, I didn't even vote for it. Well, that's fine. We acknowledge that you did not vote for it. It's not over and done with, though, until the property is paid or sold. I have a suggestion. How about a monthly report on what the status is of the horse farm? How is it doing related to financially? Why should this now be shelved because you don't want to talk about it, or it looks like you don't want to talk about it? A monthly report would reveal transparency and let the common people, because we have heard that we don't understand what y'all have to do, like we don't understand. We do understand, but if you think we don't understand, then you should put it out there with common people's voices. Tell us what you're up to, what is going on. There should be no reason why you shouldn't talk about it if you're not proud of it. Several months ago, there was a deficit of over $180,000. How much is it now? What improvements have been made to encourage the public to utilize it? These are some of the questions that I would like answers to. Why would we leave this topic alone when the taxpayers are still paying for it? If nothing else, speaking about this horse farm over and over again is letting people out there know what you did And you obviously, it looks to us that you might not be proud of it because you want it to be done and over with. Well, it isn't done and over with while the taxpayers are still paying for it. I have also heard that, well, like I said earlier, that we don't understand what you have to go through and what all the information that you have. Well, tell us. Tell us what is going on. Don't hide behind your podium there. Oh, well, not the podium. What is it, dais? Don't hide behind that. Let us know what's going on. If we don't understand what you're going through, then why don't you tell us? And these words are my own. I have been heard that people say that somebody's behind me talking. Nobody tells me what to do. They don't give me the words to talk to y'all. I do it on my own. I speak from my heart. So please quit passing it around that somebody is behind my words, because they aren't. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfslegel. Our final speaker this evening, Ms. Asaya West of 1249 Kellam Town Road.
Good afternoon. My name is Asia West, 249 Kellam Town Road. I'm here tonight to speak on the proposed budget. Funding fair elections in Onslow County. Annual election funding is the key to voting access in Onslow County. The Board of Commissioners, assisted by the Onslow County Manager, who is appointed by the Commissioners, is supposed to ensure funding is available to meet the budgetary needs identified by the Onslow County Board of Elections and Administration. The definition of need: to require because it is essential or very important. Based on the apparent needs of the County Board of Elections and Administration, this proposed budget should be at least doubled. Why hasn't there been any significant change in the budget in at least 6 years? What would they even spend that money on is probably crossing your mind. So I will name just a few for starters. A security system other than a basic Ring doorbell to protect the tools and people that ensure our votes are counted and on time, just like any other county building, including the animal shelter. The basic equipment required to stream board meetings so that everyone has access. Polling places, including popular early voting options and hours. Voter education resources and proper polling place supplies. Recruitment, training, and retention of poll workers. And at last, but certainly not least, voting equipment and technology like machines, printers, ink, which is very expensive, and IT staff. As Onslow County prepares for elections in 2023 through 2024, sufficient investment from the county commissioners for the upcoming fiscal year will be critical to ensure accessible, safe, and fair elections. Advocating for better elections is easier when you understand the costs. Election funding can be increased to expand early voting options and ensure safer and more accessible polling sites. Something to consider: we lack the proper funding to provide curbside voting, which could be useful for single parents, the elderly and disabled, and anyone during inclement weather. For precincts that have fewer than 25,000 voters, estimate rental costs were $5,000 per month. For larger jurisdictions, that estimate was $10,000 per month. It can also be used to hire more well-trained poll workers. The recommended standards is 1 poll worker for every 200 voters and a daily pay rate of $200. Sharing voting information widely about election dates, rules, and any new districts, it's estimated to cost approximately $1 to educate each voter in the county. But I think we can all agree that we can spend more than $1 on educating our community, as well as provide functioning equipment and resources necessary necessary to vote. Voting machines cost around $3,000 each. Experts recommend one machine per every 250 voters. You can do the math. I hope while hearing this information, you thought about every time you have went to vote and your own personal experience. While it probably isn't the same to other citizens' experiences, like being turned away without being offered a provisional ballot and almost leaving because you didn't know any better, or being turned away because your address on your license doesn't match the address you're registered under. Sharing voting information widely about election dates. I say this because these are things that I have witnessed. We the people deserve a place where we can thrive, that cares enough to provide the resources for civic engagement and voter education. And remember, this budget will fund the primary election 24. I ask that you do your own research and make an educated decision to increase their budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West. Chairman Foster, that concludes our public comment period.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. We will move now to item 4 in presentations. We have a couple of proclamations.
We do. Thank you. We do have 2 proclamations this evening. Our first one is to recognize Emergency Medical Services Week, and I will read it into the record. State of North Carolina, County of Onslow, proclamation, Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical providers. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Onslow County Board of Commissioners declares the week of May 21st through May 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week in Onslow County, with the EMS strong theme, EMS Week, where emergency care begins. We encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Presented the 15th day of May, 2023, and Chairman Foster has requested that Commissioner Carpenter present the proclamation. We have representatives from the Onslow County Emergency Services to accept.
It is really such an honor to present this to you today. I have the utmost respect and really admiration for anyone who chooses to be in the emergency services career field because of what it entails each and every day. I know I speak for everyone on the board when I thank you for your empathy, your kindness, your dedication, your professionalism, and really your selflessness each and every day of your workday. And more than anything, I just thank you for being such a critical asset to the well-being of all the citizens of Onslow County. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you to every commissioner and chairman, county manager for acknowledging Onslow County Emergency Services and the beginning of our EMS week that begins this Sunday coming up. I'm very proud to receive this on behalf of Onslow County Emergency Services. Thank you.
We have a second very important proclamation that I would like to read into the record. State of North Carolina, County of Onslow Proclamation, Peace Officers Memorial Day 2023. Whereas on Peace Officers Memorial Day, we commend the brave men and women of our law enforcement community for continually summoning the courage to fulfill their solemn oath to protect and serve. We also pause to remember all those who have lost their lives and who have suffered permanent disabilities defending their communities and the rule of law. And whereas these brave men and women must operate in an environment where their moral and legal authority is constantly being scrutinized, and they undertake the critical yet difficult task of addressing the actions of those affected by addiction, homelessness, and mental illness. And whereas while we can never fully repay them for their service, we must work to ensure our law enforcement officers are equipped with the tools and technology they need to do their jobs safely and effectively. And whereas we look to them to uphold the principle that no one is beyond the protection or reach of the law, these men and women, through their patriotic service and dedicated effort, have earned our gratitude and respect. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Onslow County Board of Commissioners recognizes May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Onslow County and encourages our citizens to never lose sight of the vital contributions that our law enforcement officers make to their fellow citizens. Presented this 15th day of May 2023 by the Onslow County Board of Commissioners, Chairman has requested that Vice Chairman Knapp, who is already at the microphone, present the proclamation, and we call forward our representatives from the Onslow County Sheriff's Office to accept the proclamation.
First, let me say, I did 22 years of my 27 years of law enforcement right here in Onslow County. One of the first people that I ever met in law enforcement to begin with is standing right to my right when he was a detective sergeant at another sheriff's office, and we go way, way back. Kind of explains our age, but yeah, long time. But this is important to me, to the law enforcement community, to a lot of the citizens. When this wall was going up, and I got to pay special or give special thanks and kudos to Commissioner Paul Buchanan. He's prior law enforcement as well, and he was behind this as well. When I was with the Blue Knights as their president of the motorcycle club, we raised money to get this memorial put up here in Corridor Boulevard. It means a lot to all the law enforcement officers. It's a testimony not only to law enforcement, but to first responders as well. It's a testimony to what they go through every day, what they've been through. Some people longer than others. Chris, 30 plus years? Is it 30 plus years for you? 36. 36 years of a constant strain, constantly being away from your family, the sacrifices. This is personal to me because I have friends that are on that wall. I do have a person that we're trying to get on that wall that died in the line of duty in 1992 from NCIS that was here that I knew personally. So this means a great deal, but more importantly, I want to thank these gentlemen from Onslow County Sheriff's Office. I've worked with you guys for so many years. You guys are top notch. You got a great sheriff. I think you guys are in great hands, and I just can't thank you enough for all the contributions that you do. Being law enforcement, these are the guys that run toward gunfire. They don't run away from it. They go to it, they do their job, and I'm very proud to present this to you. And Chris, congratulations.
I know a lot of you wonder why I roll so deep with so many deputies. I asked these deputies to come tonight because I got brand new ones on the end that have just out of the field training program or just getting assigned to patrol. And I got some 29-plus year veterans. I've got detention represented here. I've got civil process. I've got SROs. I've got patrol. I got the whole crowd represented, actually, everybody but our detectives. But I wanted y'all to see their faces because those folks that did not make it home, their families still remember them. They are family for us. I still remember them. I was young enough, or actually old enough to remember when Jerry Van Barber was killed in 1974, and all of them since, including those that were friends of Paul's who passed away at Jacksonville Police Department. It means a tremendous amount to us that y'all don't forget these law enforcement officers. They're that important, and so are their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. This time we'll move into our general items. Ms. Griffin?
Thank you, Chairman Foster and Commissioners. And our first department head who will speak is Ms. Lisa Whitman-Grice, who's going to talk about the amazing new exhibit out at the museum.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. We are so pleased to be here this evening to present about Crossroads, Change in Rural America, and the grant funding that has been pre-approved for us. In December of 2021, Onslow County Museum was notified by the North Carolina Humanities that the museum had been selected as one of 6 museums in the state of North Carolina to host a special Smithsonian traveling exhibit, or called Sites, through their Museums on Main Street program. The exhibit will be installed in the museum and has officially opened as of May 6th through the first week in June. This, in conjunction with this exhibit, all museums selected to host Crossroads were also pre-approved for grant funding up to $2,000 to provide for support programming or activities associated with the exhibit. Onslow County Museum Special Programming Project is the production of a traveling exhibit entitled Transformation: Rapid, Recent, and Contemporary Advancement in Rural Onslow County. This exhibit will follow the 5 themes that are in Crossroads, including land, community, identity, managing change, and persistence that are woven throughout the exhibit. But we're going to do this from a local Onslow County perspective, documenting what rural means to our residents. The exhibit will be composed of 8 panels. These will depict the story of Onslow County's rapidly evolving rural agrarian areas and the residents that call this place home. In addition to the panels, the grant will also allow for the acquisition of digital equipment, including a tablet and secure kiosk, to provide audio-visual components to the exhibit, incorporating oral history interviews, video, and still photography. The exhibit will also be available to other agencies, so once completed, it can travel across the county to our museums, to other municipalities, whomever may be interested. And we ask now if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer those.
We have a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our next general item is Mr. Ray Silence, our Telecommunications Division Head, about the Viper phone backup system.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. Onslow County 911 will need to relocate the 911 phone center to Onslow County Government Center located here for approximately 2 to 3 months during the renovation at the Emergency Operations Center. This relocation requires use of AT&T EZNet and AT&T hosted Intrado Viper system. And AT&T Mobility is the only organization that can provide the entire Viper call handling solution for the 911 requirements in North Carolina and is the sole source manufacturer and seller. It is respectfully requested that the Onslow County Board of Commissioners consider the sole source purchase of the AT&T 8-position hosted Viper system as authorized under General Statute 143-129 and authorize the chairman to execute the documents on behalf of Onslow County. And I'll be here to answer any questions you might have.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second. We have any discussion?
I do. The Viper, I know years ago, Viper Communications was not a selected source for us in law enforcement or in communications with emergency services. Is this Viper a much better system than it was?
It's 2 different things. So
Okay.
Viper is the radio system that we use for interoperability on emergency services. Viper phone system is 2 totally different things.
So you're satisfied with it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Silence.
Our next item is with Assistant County Manager Sherry Slater regarding the Memorandum of Agreement for our comprehensive opioid, stimulant, and substance abuse site-based program.
That's a mouthful, isn't it? Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Before you tonight, I have a memorandum of agreement with the City of Jacksonville. They were awarded the COSAP grant for this past year. It is a 3-year grant, and as a part of that grant, they wrote into it a partnership with our local community paramedic program so that we could add additional peer support capacity to the program, as well as adding a COSAP program coordinator for the term of the grant. We have, as you know, and at your encouragement, long worked collaboratively with the city and other partners to combat our opioid crisis in the community, as well as other mental health crises. And this is just one more way that we've worked in tandem with the City of Jacksonville, trying to make sure that we're not duplicating and that we're creating capacity in our system as a whole and not just for the county or for the city. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And the specific action requested this evening would be that the board consider approval of this agreement and authorize the county manager to sign on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Sherry, the role of the person working there would be to do like follow-ups, like so once someone's released from the crisis center, then they follow up with them, right, to make sure they're staying in treatment. Is that the role of this program?
So the community paramedics do some of that follow-up. As a part of that, we would add peer support under this agreement that would be some of that follow-up, yes, sir, in addition to the paramedics we already have doing that. The program coordinator or the COSAP coordinator that's in here is actually someone who, it's required in the grant to have someone that manages all of the data, all of the meetings, keeps all of the people, because the opioid crisis spans all of our programs and all of our communities. And so having a coordinator that keeps the different players and partners involved together in meeting and making sure that we're, again, not duplicating and serving all of those in our community at large that need that service. So the coordinator is not someone who would actively engage with the clients, but more someone to keep all the partner agencies together with the program and get the grant notices filed in a timely manner, make sure the finances are all above, straight and everything. Does that answer your question, sir?
It does.
Okay.
I just have a question. I am very much in support of this. On the other hand, just a quick question on, it says item 4 where it's talking about it's totally funded by the grant for the first year and the second year, or excuse me, for the 1 year with each additional year incorporating a COLA. And then the thing that concerns me is any additional costs will be paid by Onslow County. Do we have any idea what that might be, or is that just covering?
So that is if we add a COLA above what their agreement offers, because we tend to offer COLAs to our entire organization. We don't pick out grant-funded people as a rule. And so if the county, that's the city's way of covering themselves. If the county adds say a 5% COLA and they've offered a 2.5% in here, we would cover the other 1.5% or 2.5%.
It's just payroll related, not
yes,
other
ma'am.
costs. Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slater. You're going to miss this.
I'm going to miss a lot of it, yes, sir.
Definitely will miss you.
Ms. Griffin.
Our next item is with Sheriff Thomas, and it's the resolution regarding working inmates.
Good evening. Sheriff's Office is going to miss Sherry too. She's been a big asset to us, and we appreciate her. Good evening. I'm here this evening for a resolution for inmate work. North Carolina General Statute 16258 allows for the Board of Commissioners to enact by resolution rules and regulations to be approved by the sheriff for work projects performed by inmates convicted of misdemeanors or felonies and incarcerated in local confinement facilities. The Sheriff's Office is interested in pursuing forward with allowing certain inmates to participate in work projects to benefit the state and the County of Onslow. Only select inmates will be afforded the opportunity to participate in the work program, and they will be supervised at all times while outside the confinement facility. Respectfully request that the board consider and adopt a proposed resolution 23-008, which will allow inmates to participate in work projects and authorize the county chair to sign on behalf of the county.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Chris, could you just give the public an idea of what type of projects you have in mind for these work groups?
One of the more popular ones throughout the state with some of my fellow sheriffs that are doing the same program is roadside litter pickup. And I, like most folks, I don't like seeing litter on the roads. Hopefully when we get it set up, you'll be able to go on our Facebook page or contact our office and get a section of road placed on a list. And when we can get the road crews out, we will go pick up the litter and have DOT come by and pick up the bags after the trash has been collected. They will also working toward being able to let Parks and Rec or Building and Grounds to be able to come by our facility and pick up select inmates so they can go help do projects like mow grass or things of that nature that will benefit the county.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate you taking initiative on this.
Have we ever done this before? This is the first time I think it's ever happened, if I know historically.
No, sir, we've not. The inmates we're going to use are going to be state misdemeanor confinement inmates. If you're convicted of a misdemeanor in North Carolina, you're not put in DAC. You're put in a local facility that will agree to hold them, which the state pays us to hold them. Those are the inmates that we will be using for these projects. I could also use them for mowing on the range, training facility, or whatever. There's a number of different things they can be used for.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
He's got the next one, doesn't he?
Chairman Foster and Commissioners, our next three items are with our Finance Officer, Mr. Andrew Prince.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioners. On Monday, April 17th, the Board of Commissioners approved Budget Amendment B50 to allocate housing federal prison revenue to meet Onslow County Sheriff's needs, including $340 to a capital project fund for the firearms training storage facility. These funds will be used to construct a secure storage building located on the firearms training range. The construction project is expected to not exceed $340,000 as reflected in the proposed project ordinance. It is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners consider approval of the project ordinance for the firearms training range storage building and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the county, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion?
This is well overdone to be done. Several of us here put together trying to get the money together to help them build a range. It's interesting that they've never had their own range. They've always used JPD ranges because I'm one of those lead firearms instructors that use that facility. And since Chris Thomas came on staff and we were able to pull that money together for him for that range, now they have their own training facility. Mm-hmm. And now he wants to expand and have classrooms and storage, which will help out a lot for our officers for their training. And I'm really appreciative of what Chris has done.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Prince?
On May 1st, 2023, the board held a public hearing concerning the potential approval of an installment financing agreement in the amount not to exceed $68 million, which would be used to refinance certain existing debt as well as issue additional debt for the purposes of constructing a new elementary school. Today, we present the board the draft documents associated with the proposed installment financing and seek authorization from the board to allow the chairman of the board, the county, the finance officer, the county attorney, and the clerk to execute this document. The transaction is contingent upon the Local Governments Commission approval, or the LGC. Provided approval is granted by the LGC, the closing is anticipated to take place on July 29th of 2023. It is respectfully requested the board consider approval of the resolution which authorized the chairman of the board, the county manager, the finance officer, the county attorney, and the clerk to the board to execute the document at closing, necessary to effectuate the installment financing agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. I'm sure we wouldn't be at this stage far along if you didn't have, 100% thinking that it was going to go through with the LGC. My question regarding regarding the debt capacity, I guess, of the county. Can you just explain kind of how our current debt relates to what they recommend, how near or far away from it we are?
Sure. So when it comes to particularly this, we actually won't be looking at the county's debt model, which would be things like EMS, fire services. We actually have a separate debt model for school capital.
Okay.
In terms of our school capital, after discussion with Davenport, who is the financial advisor for the county, we have plenty of room in the school debt capital to basically take on this project and at least leave one more, which will be down the road at some point.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a couple of process questions. Do you sell the $68 million all at one time? And who determines which existing debt gets paid off? And do you pay off the existing debt first, or do you wait and see how much the school costs before you pay off what's left? How does that all work?
So in terms of procedures, the school will be its own. The bond will be sold altogether as up to an amount not to exceed $68 million. The refinancing is specifically projects that we had back in 2012 and which we have been following. The interest rate that we took on those was kind of rough. And so basically me, as well as in coordination with Davenport, we've actually been monitoring this particular one since I got here, and they've actually been looking at it a couple years beforehand.
If I may add one answer also, because I have the document in front of me, Commissioner Carpenter had asked how close we are to the legal amount that we may have in debt as a county. And the Local Government Commission sets a debt limit for counties of 8% of the total assessed value of taxable property in the county. So the assessed value of taxable property in Onslow County is $20.9 billion. So we could borrow as a county up to 8% of that, which means our debt limit would be $1.67 billion. And at this time, we only have $179 million in debt. So what that means is we have a margin of $1.49 billion that we have, and of course we don't want to borrow that kind of money, but we are in a very comfortable position with our debt capacity.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any further discussion?
One other question. Is this typical? It says, whereas the county is authorized to lease the property to the Board of Education. Can you just, I don't understand that. Is that, so we're going to own it?
Right, so I can answer that. While we're financing this, we have to own the property. So we will actually own the property that the school's being erected on, and we'll lease it back to the school system. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, after the debt's paid off, then we'll transfer the school to the school system.
So that's for a number of years ahead then?
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. But as long as part of the legal requirements of installment financing is we have to actually own the property.
Gotcha.
And this property in particular is already owned by the county. It's the Tabernacle Fields. Mm-hmm. I think at one time it was a school, and then I could believe in 2000 it was transferred back to the county. So the county currently owns that piece of property.
Okay.
Additionally, we're also able to, because it's in our name, we're also able to get reimbursed for the sales tax. If it was in the school's name, we wouldn't be able to.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And we transfer that over then to the school system so they own it when they begin to run a school, because it would not be good for the public, for Onslow County government and Onslow County schools to have to insure the property. Mm-hmm. So we want them to own those properties that they run schools on.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
This evening, I have two budget amendments for you, B52 and B53. B52 is to allocate sponsorship and donation funds received for various parks and recreation activities, including the Car and Bike Show, Back to School Bash, Coastal Pig Out Barbecue Festival, and the Black History and Easter events. B53 is to increase the grant funding for the museum for $2,000 related to the Smithsonian exhibition Crossroads. It will be used to research and fabricate a local adaptation of the exhibit entitled, as you heard previously. It is respectfully requested that the Board of Commissioners consider the listed budget amendments for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Prince.
Thank you.
Moving to item 6, appointments. Ms. Griffin?
Thank you so much. We have a couple of appointments tonight. To start out with, we have the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, which I think most of you know works very hard to reduce and prevent juvenile crime in our community. The following individuals have provided citizen participation applications for appointment, and these are all for terms that will end June 30th, 2025. Julia Parrish, Seat 2, Chief of Police. Linwood Foy, Seat 3, Sheriff's Designee. Wendell Boykins, Seat 5, Chief Court Counselor. Karen Reeves, Seat 6, LME MCO. Susan Thigpen, Seat 7, DSS Director. Carrie Sanders, Seat 8, County Manager Designee. Kristen Richmond Hoover, Seat 16, Health Director. William L. Ross III, Seat 20, Commissioner's Appointee. Ava Joanne Chavis, Seat 21, Commissioner's Appointee. Campbell Fletcher, Seat 22, Commissioner's Appointee. Morgan Cunningham, Seat 23, Commissioner's Appointee. Donna Turner, Seat 24, Commissioner's Appointee. Keith Williams, Seat 25, Commissioner's Appointee. These applications are on file and have been certified by the clerk's office. We respectfully request appointment of the listed individuals in their respective categories for a 2-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Our next set of appointments is the Community Child Protection Child Fatality Review Team, which is an important group that reviews records of all fatalities of Onslow County children, as well as any cases that may be receiving child protective services in which there may be gaps in the service delivery from any county agency. All of these cases are reviewed to determine what, if any, improvements can be made within the community as a whole to provide better services for our child population. Sean Raynone, in the at-large category, with a term expiring June 30th, 2024, has submitted a citizen participation application for appointment. This application is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office. We do respectfully request the appointment of Mr. Sean Raynone in the at-large category for a 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
The Jacksonville Onslow Sports Commission, in compliance with their bylaws, has respectfully made its annual request for the Board of Commissioners to consider an appointment to their Board of Directors. It was requested that they follow a prescribed system of advertising for vacancies. An advertisement was done via social media seeking nominees for the Board of Directors, but no nominations were received. The Board of Directors of the Sports Commission considered appointments and reappointments at their March 23rd, 2023 meeting and voted unanimously to select Meredith Williams to replace Mary Thomas and hold Seat D. The board is requesting approval of this appointment. The application is on file and has been certified by the clerk's office. We respectfully ask you to consider appointment of Ms. Meredith Williams to Seat D for a 3-year term to expire June 30th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's nothing on item 7 for the consent agenda item, so we'll move right into your comments, Ms. Griffin.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I did want to announce to the public that our proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year has been released today. It can be viewed in 3 different locations. Here at the Onslow County Government Center lobby, we have a full copy of this book. Also, at the Onslow County Main Branch Library at 58 Doris Avenue, you can come and look at our Onslow County proposed budget. And the third place is online at www.onslowcountync.gov. So we encourage citizens to take a look at that. We will be having our budget public hearing at the next Board of Commissioners meeting, which is Monday, June 5th. And it will be beginning promptly at 11 a.m. Please arrive early if you would like to speak at the public hearing so that you can sign up. You can also, if you prefer, send your budget comments by U.S. mail or by email to the address budgetcomments, all one word, budgetcomments at onslowcountync.gov through Thursday, June 1st, and we will present those formally to the Board of Commissioners as a public comment. Also, there was a lot of question tonight about the Board of Elections budget. I wanted to provide some information for the public. As a budget team, when we prepare this lengthy budget, we do meet with the Board of Elections director and the staff that he chooses to bring with him to our budget meeting. We talked about their requests. We reviewed line by line his requests. And the only thing that we saw that was a problem that we asked him to go back and fix was an accidental duplication in his supply line of about $70,000 that was also included in another place and was duplicative. We had them go back, and the revised budget that he sent to us is exactly what has been proposed. So we have to talk to the Board of Elections director and understand from him what the needs are. And then we propose that budget to the Board of Commissioners. They did not ask for funds specifically to educate voters or funds to advertise new rules, or we certainly would have given that careful consideration. I will also say that they have unfettered access to our IT department, and our IT department basically shuts down during elections and takes care of them, and they have given rave reviews of that. The Board of Elections also can use county equipment to stream meetings at any time they would like to. A little over a year ago, maybe it was more, they asked for elections equipment and ballot machines, and this board had a special workshop that was noticed to the public, listened to this, talked to different vendors, and immediately took action and purchased all of those new ballot machines that were requested. Basically, they tell us what we need and we provide it. The Board of Elections also, the public may not realize this, were supposed to be in this building initially when we built it, where they would have had probably greater security access, but the director at the time, who's different than the one now, did not want to be in this building and wanted to be out in the building that they're in, and so we accommodated that request. Anyways, we do our very best to provide their needs. We are a county that has to look at needs and not just double budgets or look at once, because although we're 13th in population in the state, we're 97th in the tax levy per citizen and 93rd in the taxable property per person. And that's because we've got a lot of federal land and a lot of difficulty. We'd have to raise taxes significantly to do a lot more funding. But I think I've said enough. I will pass it on to you unless you have questions.
I have a question, Sharon. Do you remember how much we spent for those new machines? I believe it was quite a bit.
I think it was $370,000, something like that, $375,000. And that's from memory, but it was a chunk of change, yes.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now we'll move to commissioner comments, and we'll start here with Commissioner Carpenter.
I knew you'd do that. I have had a great week meeting with the advisory board at the airport. Things are moving along with the expansion plans that they have, doing the runway, the tasks that are involved with getting the project done. And I wish I could give more detail, but I didn't bring that along with me tonight. So I just want to say it's a real honor and a privilege to serve here on the board. And thank you to all the citizens that came tonight and expressed their thoughts. And I just appreciate you taking the time to do that. And it's been definitely noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Commissioner Price?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pleased to attend the opening of the exhibit at Richlands for the Onslow County Museum's Crossroads, Change in Rural America. Excellent. I enjoyed that. So if you get a chance, get out there and take a look at the exhibit that we have, courtesy of the Smithsonian. It was a great honor for Onslow County as well, one of 6 counties in the state to be chosen to represent change in rural America in southeastern North Carolina. So that's a very, very great honor. Also, we had a joint meeting with the Board of Education. In that, we talked about future needs, what was happening with growth. Of course, it's expanding rapidly. We did talk about the need for redistricting at Dixon High School. We're assured that that is proceeding forward. As a matter of fact, I think they're having a meeting the 11th, next Wednesday, I think there's one.
We had one Thursday, and now next Wednesday.
One Thursday and next Wednesday. Okay. So they're having a meeting on redistricting of Dixon High School. So that is a need that I think everyone's aware of, that we wanted to focus attention on. Thanks to Sharon for speaking on behalf of the county at State of the Community. Very, very good event, where we learned the challenges facing the entire county and various institutions. Friday, I attended Coastal Elementary for the Leader in Me, talked with their principal, and he said that they would be at full capacity next year, he expected. We just built that elementary school 3 years ago, and they will be at full capacity next year. So that tells me all I need to know about growth right there. Also, went to Coastal Carolina Community College's graduation on Saturday. Congratulations to the graduates of Coastal Carolina and those graduating who are Onslow County graduates across the state at various universities at the UNC system. Also, we were out at the Comic Book Festival and got a chance to judge the various costumes for the Comic Book Festival. And this was good because it got people coming into the library, and some of them got library cards. They renewed their library cards, created greater interest in reading. So that was good. I enjoyed it, even though I'm not a comic book person. I probably didn't have a great deal of credential to judge a comic book costume, but I did it anyway. Also, on the Board of Election Funding, the fact that we're getting more bang for our buck with fewer dollars, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. I do not see a direct correlation between increasing the number of dollars and getting more people out to vote. I see that as the role of the parties, of individuals, talking to your grandmas and your grandpas and your neighbor and getting them to make sure, hey, you need a ride to the polls, and that type of thing. So I share your concern about increasing the number of voters in Onslow County, but if the procedure is working that we're doing, and I traveled to 13 precincts, I think, on Election Day, and the ones I saw, there was a flow of voters in and out very quickly. The workers there at the Board of Elections do a great job. And it's good if we're getting we'll be able to do it for $5 a voter instead of 17. That's good stuff. I do appreciate Ms. Wolfslagle giving me an opportunity to talk about Hines Farm, though. We did purchase Hines Farm, and only $350,000 of general fund money was used to purchase 153 acres. I think 950,000 came from tourism. So if I could get that deal as an individual, I'd pull the trigger on that every time. 153 acres for $350,000. as I thought about that, I thought we would never have another greater opportunity to expand the park system than what we had at that moment. So I acted out of that motivation, and I'm proud of that vote. So y'all can go out and tell everybody that Commissioner Price voted for Hines Farm. And also, good things are happening. From day one, that was a turnkey operation. People were out on the water. They were kayaking. They were paddle boating. We had some people that were concerned about the water quality, so we said, let's send the wildlife guy out there. He reported back, he caught the biggest bass he's ever caught in his life. I think it was 9 pounds. I might be wrong, but I believe it was 9-pound bass. He caught anyway. I saw a picture of it. It was like this. It was a good sized one. It was a keeper. And that was supper. And so water quality must be fine. I went out on a paddle boat. I think Mr. Foster was out there that same day. We went out on paddle boats, and you could actually see the fish in the water. So water quality has got to be good. So I felt good about that. So from the day we purchased it, people were out there, and I drive out there periodically. I've been out there only one time when I didn't see somebody fishing. So maybe fishing's not your thing, but for those folks who were out there fishing, it meant something to them. You take your PBJ and a pack of nachos or cheesy Doritos or whatever out there. You've made a day of it. That's good. All right, so that's Hines Farm. What are we doing now with Hines Farm? Well, we wanted to develop this incrementally. We didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. So the Parks and Recreation staff applied for a state grant, and it's $400,000 approximately, Ms. Griffin?
That's correct. And then we have to match.
We have to match
part of the
200,000.
funds, and that's for the all-access playground and for another parking lot and for some other improvements and a pavilion out there.
Okay, so when I think about parks, I think about kids' playgrounds and picnics and stuff like that. So that's what we're trying to do now. So that's the next step. So we didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. That's not my idea of a fun time, spending money. So we wanted to develop incrementally the best way we could. And the best way we could was get a grant to get the state to pay half of it. That's good stuff. So we're doing that as well, and that's going to develop the park even more. So that is going to help tremendously. That's going to bring more people out, and I think that's going to be a gem of Onslow County today and in future years to come. And you can tell them Commissioner Price voted for it. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Price. Commissioner Scott?
Okay, today we went to a peace officer memorial service. I believe the entire board I was there. As we pay respect to those that sacrificed, let us never forget the families that were involved. That's what now resonates with me, because a loved one is still suffering. I don't care how long it's been. It's just like it happened yesterday. And my heart goes out to those families across the United States, not only here. The second thing I got is it's summertime, graduations amongst us. Please be safe and go and do what you need to do, but be safe. We got kids out there that's graduating, and let's give them an opportunity to be successful in the future. And I thank you for allowing me to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Commissioner Bennett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Small Business Week. As a small business owner, I appreciate all that the Chamber's doing to promote small businesses and the Small Business Center at the Community College. A lot of events going on this week if you want to visit some websites and find them. Also got to go to a high school musical called High School Musical at Dixon High School. That was a lot of fun. They did a great job. Dixon High School did a great job. I do want to thank those who came and spoke tonight. I always find it instructive when people complain about us spending too much and then in the next breath tell us how we need to spend more on their pet projects. We do appreciate those comments. Every time I hear Hines Farm Park, I think about the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. And why is that? Because if you look at the overhead shots that they have always on TV of the Thanksgiving parade, they got one side of the road where there's all these 50-story buildings, huge buildings, and a lot of concrete and a lot of people. On the other side of the road, there's a bunch of trees, and there's 800 acres of beautiful green areas for their kids to play in. In 1858, the city council there took the wise and step of paying $5 million for 850 acres of land. They caught a lot of grief for that. Boy, they did. They had to borrow money and condemn property to take over that land, none of which I would have approved, borrowing money or condemning property. But the fact is, my grandchildren are going to enjoy Hines Farm Park, just like the millions of visitors now to New York are enjoying the Central Park in New York. So I'm with Commissioner Price. If anybody asks who voted for Hines Farm Park, I am absolutely with him on that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bennett. Commissioner Buchanan?
They don't leave much, do they?
I know they, not much
But I
left on
agree
that
with
vote.
both Commissioner Bennett and Commissioner Price. I also voted for it, and I'm not going to say more about it because it's an outstanding facility and it's going to do very well. What I want to do is say thank you to all of our public safety personnel and what you do for our community. You're the life support for our people, our dispatchers, our emergency services, our deputies, our JPD officers, our Highway Patrol, SBI, all of them, NCIS. There's a lot of officers in this community that I think the world of, and I always will, and I want to thank them for what they do. The other thing, too, is I just got a text that we spent $390,000 for those voting machines. If you want to write that down, young lady, because I noticed you're writing a lot of things down. It was $390,000 that we budgeted for new machines. So that goes ahead and tells you exactly what we've done budget-wise for the election board of the facilities. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Buchanan. Vice Chairman Knapp.
You didn't do it, did you? First of all, I'm amazed that the cops that are sitting right here, along with the first responders, are even awake, because I know how busy you guys are. I know you're impatient. You're probably itching for us to get this over with. And I can see you laughing, Strong, Jordan. You know I'm telling the truth. So thank you for your patience, guys. But getting to the Peace Officer Memorial, that's a big one. And we do have to remember the family members. The family members are the ones that suffered. They still suffer to this day. And when we honor the fallen first responders on a wall, it means something. And to go out and desecrate that, which we had here this year, that's basically committing a capital sin to law enforcement and first responders, to desecrate a monument, a memorial in honor of those who gave their lives in defense of their community. And then it's a disgrace to their families. And like I said, there's a lot of us up here that honor that. We've got several law enforcement officers on this board and retired law enforcement officers, and so we take it seriously. But one thing that I didn't mention, there was a particular young lady that pushed for this, and she was the wife of Steve Bim, known affectionately as Bam Bam. She's now remarried, but her name is Kim Lawrence. And let me tell you something about Kimberly Lawrence. She pushed this thing. She was very good friends with Paul. They worked together, and they pushed and pushed and pushed to raise money for this memorial out there, to the point where it obsessed her, and rightly so. And I got involved because I was the president of the Blue Knights Motorcycle Club, and a lot of the members and I myself agreed with it, and we would do runs every year to raise money for this fund. And I think it's that important that we honor and keep their memories alive and to remember their families. That's the biggest thing. Their family members, again, like I said earlier, are still suffering. But I want to thank all of you guys. I know what you go through. And like people, you know, you guys are in a profession. It's a calling. It's a specialty. You guys do what you do because you love the job and you love your community. And I commend all of you for what you do, tremendously from the heart, from one brother law enforcement to another. Thank you. Let's see. Sherry, your paperwork, I just been told, has been canceled, and Courtney, they lost yours. Is that true? Yes. Well, this is Sherry's last commissioners meeting, and this is Courtney's last day in Onslow County. And I can't tell you how
proud I am of Sherry and Courtney for the job that they have done. I've come to know Sherry. We've been the right word is brutally honest with each other, and we've had some good times, but I have not met somebody with the intelligence and the background like Sherry. She's been a lifesaver, especially during the Dix Crisis Center. She can rattle off names and numbers and history. And what I guess I'm saying is your 30 years, it's 30 years? It's gone by fast, and I know I'm going to miss you, but you can't leave because Wednesday we have an oversight committee meeting, so you have to be in attendance for that one because I'll get lost. But I just can't commend you enough, Sherry. I am going to miss you. I hope our friendship transcends these doors here, and I know it will, and we'll be talking to each other. And Courtney, I think you're leaving to spend time with your little one. I think that's fantastic. I think you have your priorities in order. We're going to miss you. You've been a valuable asset. Even though sometimes those calls were annoying when you say, are you going to go to this or are you going to go to that? But you kept me in cheek, and I do appreciate you. We're going to miss you very much. And Godspeed to whatever you do, seriously. And it's a toss-up between Rick and Amiga for the most attendance at a BOC meeting. I think it's a tie, so you may have to cast the deciding vote there. But I want to thank you guys for always being here, always seeing your smiling faces out there, and I appreciate you very much. And the last thing I'm going to say, and my wife doesn't want me to say it, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know she's watching. So my wife's 54th birthday is today. I'm taking her to dinner after this meeting. She's probably telling me to shut up right now at home on the screen. But I got to say something about her. So we like to go to Myrtle Beach, and we went for the weekend to Myrtle Beach. She likes Topgolf, okay? It's a fun thing. You just go out there and drive. You can drink beer, eat, whatever. She got so excited yesterday that she smacked the tar out of me in the first round. She beat me by 30 points. I wasn't feeling it. So I got motivated, and I want her to know, because I know she's listening, I smacked her badly in the second game, and I completely crushed her the third game, and I'm very proud of that. So I know you're listening, sweetheart, but happy birthday, and I'll be home soon. But other than that, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming out tonight, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Knapp. I'm sure dinner has now been canceled. Sheriff Thomas, I got a big question for you. At any point, were you ever a baseball coach? Yes, sir. No, sir. Well, I think you would do a very good job on the slow walk to the pitcher's mound because of the walk to the podium tonight was very good, sir. Right. So you did a fine job.
That's right.
And although, you know, we appreciate what you come up and what you had to share tonight, but that's what come to my mind is the slow walk from the pitchers. But you had great stuff when you got up here, and we appreciate that. Sherry, I enjoyed working with you last several years. Going to miss seeing you coming to the podium to share information with us. I know your husband's here, and he's watching you in your last night, so he's probably thankful that this is coming to a close too. So I know he's got a smile on his face as well, and I know you got lots planned in the future, and we appreciate everything that you've done for Onslow County and the work that you've done, and you will be missed. Courtney, same thing. Vice Chairman talked about you. We appreciate everything that you have done. Without your calendar events, I would not make it where I was supposed to be and on time or any of the above. So thank you for all your work, and good luck to you and your family as that little one is so important, and we appreciate what you've done and the commitment you've had here. Two memorials in Onslow County representing our Peace Memorial with the City of Jacksonville downtown by the Public Safety Building. Great ceremony there. I thought the sheriff made some very good comments this morning, and Chief Unero as well as the mayor and General Nebel from Camp Lejeune, MCI East. And then we have ours right out here for all of Onslow County and everyone that we have lost in the line of duty in whatever capacity as far as public safety is concerned. And the theme there this morning was don't forget. Don't ever forget what they've done and what they've sacrificed, and the families, what they sacrificed. So we very much appreciate that. The museum is great. If you haven't been to the Onslow County Museum lately, you need to get in there and see it, the history. I got a little bit of history. Neon light or sign is up in the museum. It says Iwo Jima. I don't know if many people have been around in this room right now remembers the old Iwo Jima movie theater, but they found that sign, if I'm correct, in the salvage yard. And it was going out, and they were able to get that and fix that, which was not much other than a fuse, I believe, and some other stuff. So that was a great acquirement, because that was a significant part of history in Onslow County. And congratulations on being one of the 6 sites of picking up Crossroads. That's a testament to you and your staff and what you do and how hard you work for that. Commissioner Price mentioned it as far as the joint meeting with the Board of Education. Lots of good conversation, lots of collaboration between the 2 boards and meeting the needs of the citizens, and in particular the students of Onslow County. And building of schools is not done, because the projection in the next 25 years is another 70,000 people to our population. So we need to get ready and prepare for that. It's going to be quite an impact there. Comic Fest was great. I had to tell Commissioner Price who Pikachu was, but we did judge that, and I thought the library staff did a great job in what they did in the community in bringing people out to the public library. So that was fantastic. I won't go into detail with Commissioner Price and Commissioner Bennett on Hines Farm, but I will take a moment to share with you how Hines Farm Park and Stables come about, in case anyone missed it the last few times. We had a gentleman come to the county government center, meet with a couple of people, and said, hey, I want to sell equine country. I'm offering it to the county first. I only wanted it tax value. I'm getting rid of a few things, and if you don't want it, thank you. I'll go on and I'll sell it for whatever I can get for it. That was the extent of the conversation. A couple of months later, or a month later, if I can't even remember, we had a few other pieces of property that come about. One was property down in Verona. The old right turn into Verona used to go through Verona, and then the bypass around Verona. That group of woods there was also on the market and was brought to our attention. So we did go out and have people go out and inspect both of those grounds and different things that was available there. And what we could do and couldn't do there in Verona was too far greater than its worth or value to us. So we said we don't want to continue going down that path. And we continued getting information back on Hines Farm. And ultimately the decision was made by the majority of the board to purchase Hines Farm. And for the accusations of, I want everybody to address it, and I'll do it publicly, for backroom deals, kickbacks, and under the table. Obviously, I'm not very good at that, because he owns a Dodge dealership, used to own a Volkswagen dealership. I drive 2 Fords, none of which were bought from those dealerships there in Onslow County. So I need to really get better at it. So I need to work on that, I suppose. The other part of it is I appreciate everybody coming out and speaking. I think it's great, and you have that opportunity. I think coming to the microphone is something that everyone should get the opportunity to do and share, because it's not easy to come to the microphone and speak. I mean, it takes a lot to do that. So I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. I will go back and view the radio show that was mentioned, because it would be completely out of character for me to laugh at someone or pick on someone in a public forum. I laugh and do a lot, but in those areas, I don't typically do that. But if I'm wrong, I'll be back on June 5th and tell everybody that I was wrong. And if you're wrong, I invite you to come back on January 5th and tell everybody that you were wrong, because I'll do that. And I'm hoping that Hines Farm will continue to grow and become the commodity that we like for it to do. Buying dirt is usually a good thing. I think that's Jordan and Luke on the country radio, is buy dirt. We don't have a lot of opportunity for that. I do remember when the city of Jacksonville purchased the property out in Jacksonville Commons, they got a lot of heat about the purchase of all that property and what they were doing out there. Now I think there's a lot of people that are really happy with Jacksonville Commons Rec Center and what's going on at that facility. And I believe in the next 10 years you're going to see a lot going on out at Hines Farm. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back in 10 years and tell you I was wrong. But I do see that as a great venture and a lot of opportunity for family and people there. And I do want more people to get out and vote. We need more people to get out and vote. If there's a correlation between the two, I'll go back and research that and check into it and see if there is. But we've got to do better than 37%. We've got to get people to the polls. And I also agree with Commissioner Price. The two parties have obviously got to do a better job to get people to the polls. And the number of people that are running to the unaffiliated ranks are obviously getting tired of the parties. And what we need to make sure we do is let's do what's right by the citizens. All the citizens, I think, was mentioned. We do need to work for every citizen and make Onslow County great. Because the problem with Onslow County, we've done something right, because daggone if they don't keep coming. They don't come to a place that they don't like. And those that do come stay. No one's leaving, and we appreciate that. It's a beautiful place, and I've been here since day one, and it is a great place to live, work, and raise a family. And there's a lot of guys in those uniforms that were born and raised in Onslow County, too. We appreciate the work that you've done, and we appreciate your slow-walking picture of a leader, Sheriff Chris Thomas. So thank you again. Have a wonderful night. Now we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.
Hey.